Assalamualaikum and a very good morning everyone. We are students from the University Technology Malaysia and we are here to present about the safe storage of chemicals involving the issue of chemical compatibility. This is presented by Section 1 of Occupational Safety and Health in the Industry course. So here are our table of contents. I will start off our presentation with the introduction. As we know, most laboratories use chemicals. However, accidents involving the storage of chemicals are far too frequent. Therefore, we must properly handle and store these hazardous materials. Some of the regulations for handling and storing chemicals include the following, such as Food and Drug Administration and Drug Enforcement Agency, which are used for controlled substances and consumable alcohols, as well as Nuclear Regulatory Commission for radioactive substances and Environmental Protection Agency for hazardous wastes. Okay, so I will now move on to part 2, which is about the right personal protective equipment. The minimum personal protective equipment includes chemical-resistant gloves and eye protection such as goggles, as well as closed-toe shoes, which are essential for working in the laboratory. And finally, we have lab coats, which are used when needed by the lab safety policy. After we collect our PPE, we need to make sure to survey our surroundings. So, notice if there is any potential trip hazards. Make sure that the emergency equipment areas are clear and free of stored materials. Have absorbent materials, neutralizing agents, clean up utensils, and waste containers. Finally, check that all chemical containers have safety data sheet, which looks something like this. So if you want to read more about this, you can visit any of these websites. Otherwise, I will move on to part 3, which is about safe transport. So some of the pointers for moving chemicals safely include the following, such as never moving degrading chemical containers. Instead, report to your lab supervisor. When transporting chemicals, place the bottles in leak-proof containers to prevent spillage. Use sturdy carts to move large containers. Ensure that the wheels can roll over surfaces. Do not transport chemicals during busy times, such as break times. Use freight elevators to move hazardous chemicals and avoid incidents. And finally, never leave chemicals unattended. So that's all for my part. I will now pass over to my teammate.
For part 4, these are some rules for chemical storage. All hazardous chemical containers should be appropriately labeled with their identity and danger warning. We should separate all incompatible chemicals into hazard classes for proper chemical storage. Compounds should not be stored alphabetically. We should provide each chemical with its storage location and return after usage. In ventilated cabinets, store volatile, toxic, and odoriferous chemicals. To keep vapors from escaping, we should securely seal containers. Acids should be kept in separate cabinets. Nitric acid must be kept apart from the others. Combustible materials should be stored in dedicated storage cabinets. We should close the door after usage. Liquids should be stored in unbreakable or double-contained containers. Chemicals stored in explosion-proof freezers or cold rooms must be sealed and labeled with the identity of the person who stored the chemicals. Highly toxic materials should be kept in locked and dedicated poison cabinets. These are some things to avoid. Chemicals should not be stored near heat sources or direct sunlight. Should avoid using bench tops for storage. Only chemicals that are currently in use should be present. Avoid storing chemicals in fume hoods. Only chemicals that are currently in use should be kept. We should not store chemicals under sinks as they may leak and some chemicals react when wet. We should avoid keeping chemicals on the floor, even if it's just for a short period of time. We should avoid overcrowding shelves. An anti-roll sleeve should be installed on each shelf. Chemicals should never be stored on the top shelf of a storage unit and should never be stored higher than eye level. These are the sources we used for our presentation. This is our team. I am Soha and my team partner Anisa, our supervisor Dr. Neem. That's it from us. Thank you.